conflict. Russia, along with the US, EU, and the United Nations, is a member of the Middle East Quartet and energetically pursues peace in the Middle East. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you for that. Before we went to the break here, Dr. Gissin, Norman Megan brought up the point of coming to your door with a gun and a Bible. I mean, this is how the Palestinians see it as well. I mean, Norman, as far as I can tell, is on the record of believing in the state of Israel has a right to exist. I mean, it's not like Israel should be wiped off the map, okay? Israel does have rights. I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong, Norman, go ahead.
I don't think Israel...
Go ahead, Norman.
I don't think Israel or any other state has a right to exist. I don't think Israel or any other state, for that matter, has a right to exist. They do exist, and under international law, they have very specific rights and duties as a member state of the United Nations. And beyond, and as far as I can tell, all of the Arab states, in fact, the entire United Nations, has been willing to grant Israel its rights and duties under international law. The problem is, as anyone can tell from the record, the UN record, the record of the International Court of Justice, is that Israel refuses to recognize the rights of the Palestinians to their state and their right to self-determination, their right to their homeland.
It's not true.
That's the obstacle. The obstacle is not recognition of Israel.
Okay, Dr. Gissin in Tel Aviv, go right ahead, reply.
Well, maybe you can explain why it's not true.
I want to say that, yeah, I will tell you why. I think that you're engaging in the most, it's a dangerous exercise from the point of view of what, you know, we're talking, it's very popular to talk about Holocaust deniers, but those who deny history, those who are not willing to accept history, are committing a worse crime. Because I can accept post-historians like you. I can accept that. But denying historical facts, known historical facts, the pogroms were launched against Jews here, not against the Arabs.
Can you give an example?
The Jews were those who tried to make peace with the Arabs when they come here.
Can you give an example of a historical fact?
1929, 1936, the first time. The reason that we came with a rifle and a Bible is because it wasn't safe to come with a Bible alone. And when we came only with our books were burned. In other places in the world as well. And this was the only place in the world that my great-grandfather believed he should go back. And he lived a very good life in Dnipropetrovsk, but he believed he should come back to his own homeland. And this is the homeland of the Jewish people. Otherwise, how can you explain that 1 million Russian immigrants decided to immigrate to Israel, not to other countries, and life is not easy here? I told you, it's not a normal state, not because we chose it, but because the abnormality was imposed on us. We have to surf on these tsunami waves. And you think the whole world is a bubble in international law. You mentioned international law. I'll tell you what's in the UN Charter. Article 51, the uncontested and right of self-defense. That's Article 51. Israel's the only country that is brought to court for exercising that right. Without that article, states would not exist, whether you recognize them or you don't recognize them.
All right, let's go back
to the hallmark of the UN Charter was Article 51.
Let's go back to New York. Go ahead. Norman, go ahead. There's a lot said there. Go ahead.
Dr. Gissin, I think you're rather confused on why Israel is being taken or should be taken to the International Criminal Court. In Richard Goldstone's report on what happened in Gaza, he doesn't even address the issue of whether Israel has the right to self-defense, and he never denies Israel's right to self-defense. The reason Israel is now being or should be taken before the International Criminal Court is because Israel systematically targeted civilians and civilian population during the massacre in Gaza. And the Israeli officials, were pretty
we didn't target
straightforward
civilians.
about
I'm sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
Dr. Gissin, Dr. Gissin, you had your chance to speak. Please let Norman finish his point. Please, to be fair. Go ahead, Norman.
The Israeli officials were pretty straightforward about what they were doing in Gaza. So, for example, as the massacre was winding down, Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni, she boasted that we showed the Arabs that we went wild in Gaza. The day after, or the day or 2 days after the Gaza massacre ended, excuse me, on January 19th, Tzipi Livni went on Channel 10 News in Israel, and she boasted that we carried on like real hooligans in Gaza, and that's what I demanded, or so she said.
Sound like,
the evidence is quite overwhelming.
Like Hamas website.
The evidence is quite overwhelming. Well, I'm sorry, but Hamas website, if they had that quote, the quote comes from your Channel 10 News. It's from Foreign Minister Livni.
No.
Are you denying that she made those statements?
No, okay.
Are you denying that Foreign Minister Livni said we went wild in Gaza? Are you denying that Foreign Minister Livni said that we conducted ourselves with...
I don't know what she said.
Those statements are very much in context. What do you think real hooliganism means?
Not at the slanderous lies of
let's see what you did.
The Goldstone report was a one-sided slanderous report.
Gentlemen, you're talking over each other. Dr. Gissin, so what Norman Finkelstein is saying is not... No, let me jump in here. What Norman just said is not true. Is that what you're saying? It is not true. It is not factually true.
Yes, not true. Not true, because you know what the primordial sin of the Goldstone report lies in the Eldura case.
You're changing, Dr. Gissin, you're changing the topic again.
No, I'm not changing.
Yes, you're changing the topic.
I'm not changing.
Norman Finkelstein made the statement. He made the statement. Please, sir. Please, sir. We're changing the subject. You're changing the subject. Norman Finkelstein said that on Israeli television, the foreign ministers made these claims. You're saying that's not true.
I don't know. I didn't hear what she said. I know the facts because I was part of the investigation after the fact. And one thing that came out from this report after we investigated everything is that this was a crime scene in which Hamas tampered with the evidence in order to prove that we are criminals. And we failed. We failed here on the battle, not because we conducted a massacre, but we failed to expose who the real villains are.
Okay, Norman, go ahead.
Let's see what your investigation showed, because I read them very carefully. 1,400 people were killed in Gaza. Of those 1,400, up to 4/5 were civilians. About 6,000 homes were completely destroyed in Gaza. About 80% of the agricultural crops were destroyed in Gaza. The only flour mill in Gaza was destroyed. A chicken farm was destroyed. Israel went in with its tanks, ran over the chickens, killed about 50,000 chickens.
Nonsense.
So Israel had its investigations. And what did it find in its investigations?
No.
It found that
this is lies. You are quoting lies.
One Israeli soldier had committed a crime in Gaza. He stole a credit card and rang up a bill on the credit card of $400. That was the only crime that your government could discover after what happened in Gaza. Now I wonder, Mr. Gissin, do you really believe that in the wake of all of that death, do you really believe that in the wake of all of that, all of that destruction, what Amnesty International called the 22 days of death and destruction, what the Goldstone report called an attack designed to punish, humiliate, and terrorize the Palestinian people. Do you really believe that after those 22 days, and in the midst of all of that death and destruction,
Norman, you've made it.
Do you really believe?
Come on,
do you really believe the only crime that was committed was one credit card stolen?
Okay. Dr. Gissin, you reply to that. So
yes,
only one crime was committed
by Hamas. I can look straight into the camera and straight into your eyes and you say, the worst thing is the fact that you are denying historical facts. You have made up your mind and I'm confusing you with the facts. You're not ready to deal with the real facts. This was staged. The staging of events happened when Hamas understood that in order to stop the thing, they have to use human beings as human shield. That's a crime against humanity. Every place they protected themselves with human shields. And we tried to avoid as much as possible collateral damage and getting uninvolved.
Gentlemen, we're running out of time.
This is a war that you can... Colonel...
All right, gentlemen, we're almost out of time.
Expert from Afghanistan say about this war.
All right, gentlemen, we didn't cover as much as I had hoped. Many thanks to our guests today, Norman Finkelstein and Gissin, and thanks to our viewers for watching us here in RT. See you next time, and remember, Crosstalk rules.